All right, just a reminder that this is recording as of now. Um, I want to welcome everyone for joining us in the Becoming Your Own Boss session. And I would like to, if he will, Chaplain Sands, if we can just open up in a brief prayer.
Absolutely. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to share and to receive information to help those who are in a position where they're trying to enter back into society. Lord, I pray that the words of our mouth and our hearts is pleasing to you, Father God. We lean on you in all that we do, Father God. We thank you for every individual that's on this panel and everyone who will be listening. And give us strength, give us encouragement. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Chaplain Sands. I also want to let people know that our guests, if you are in the wrong session, you can get out. You simply want to end the session and go back to the Hoover agenda and select the appropriate session. I also want to remind that the participants, please, as one person is speaking, try to keep your mics muted and you can unmute yourself as you're speaking. As we begin, I want to introduce myself. I'm Ernest Stockton. I am the regional coordinator for ODRC's Office of Reentry. I cover the Southwestern Ohio area, 13 counties. I'm also a licensed clinician, counselor, and mentor as well. Been active in reentry for over a decade. So this is a passion of mine as well, and I'm glad to be able to facilitate this event. Just a reminder again, this is the Becoming Your Own Boss series. I want to open up the discussion with having our guest let us know where you're from. Tell us a little bit about your experience with re-entry, who you are, and where you're located. And if we can start with Dana, we can go across. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. My name is Dana Davis. I'm located here in Columbus, Ohio. I am the business network manager for ARCH, Accompanying Returning Citizens with Hope. In my role, I focus on workforce development, working with the population that we serve, returning citizens, restored citizens, and helping them to find meaningful employment. I'm passionate about the work that I do because as a child, I was a child of an incarcerated parent. So I spent a lot of time in and out of institutions visiting my dad and also my siblings. And every time they would come home, they would always go back to doing the same thing that would land them right back in the situation. So I'm passionate about finding resources to help people be successful upon reentry. And one of the main barriers is employment. So that's where my passion lies. And I'm very, very glad and honored to be here. I'm also an entrepreneur as well. Actually tapping into this about a little over 10 years ago with a transportation company transporting loved ones that were incarcerated, trying to mainly focus on children, keeping children connected with their parents while they're incarcerated. So again, here.
All right, wonderful intro. We're glad to have you. Next, we have Chaplain Sands.
Yes. My name is Chaplain Sands, and I'm currently the chaplain at the Cuyahoga Hill Juvenile Correctional Facility, where it is my pleasure to serve. Our motto here is to care for our families and care for the youth that are here, and to give them hope and to give them direction. I'm grateful that our director allowed me to participate in this wonderful event. I have my master's in theology and pastoral counseling. I achieved those degrees at the Ohio Christian University. I am also an entrepreneur and developed skills while incarcerated to start my own businesses. And the necessary approach to future customers. And so I'm here to lend as much as I can to those, and I'm also here to learn from others. So thank you very much.
Awesome. It's a blessing to have you. And I'm sorry, I failed to make mention that to our guests, as well as those on the panel, should you have any questions, we'll be monitoring the chat. You can put your questions in the chat, or you can save it towards the end. We'll probably wrap up around 11:25, 11:30, and we'll save that last 15 minutes for some Q&A, some questions and some answers, okay? Next we have Mr. Parker. Welcome.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm just supposed to introduce myself?
Yes, sir. Tell us
Okay.
where you're from, how you connected to the reentry, a little geographical information.
Okay. My name is Troy Parker, president of Innovative Labor and Cleaning. We're in the Cincinnati area. We service pretty much all of Ohio. We also do some things out of state like Tennessee. We've worked in Dallas, Michigan. We are a staffing company providing service staffing, whether it be a skilled position or unskilled position. We also do construction cleanup. And we also have right now we have 4 large dump trucks that does heavy highway hauling and demolition removal. I got involved in reentry. I was released from prison in 2015. And when I went to the halfway house, I started my company while in the halfway house. And my goal was to hire predominantly African-American males that were coming out of prison. So I was in one halfway house, but I would hire the guys from another halfway house because you weren't really allowed to do that in the halfway house. So that was a stressful 6 months. But from that, we were able to grow. And right now we have 152 employees. Probably, I'd say easily 75% are returning citizens. But what's different about our company is we don't just give them a job and say, okay, hey, this is a stepping stone. Now you got a job and you go. I found that if you really want to change a person, you got to change their mind. And you got to make a better person. So I started doing little monthly meetings because at first it was just me and 4 guys. And I would talk about personal development things that I had learned while I was incarcerated, like goal setting, changing your self-image, getting rid of the I'm a convict mentality. And they began to grow. So then it went from 5 to 10, 15, 20 people, then COVID hit. So then I started making videos. But to incentivize my crew to buy into the videos, I would give incentives. So I'd do a video Monday and said, hey, the first person who calls tomorrow night at 6, the first 3 people will get maybe a $100 gift card. So then they started looking forward to, okay, well, let's see what the video about. And they'd have to answer the question, but slowly I was, putting in their mind, in their subconscious mind, new ways of thinking, looking at themselves and looking at life. So I was building a better people, a better company, and a better community.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Glad that you're here with us, joining us. Now, we were supposed to have one of our guests, and I don't know if there's anyone here on his behalf. Damian Calvert, is he present? Damian Calvert, don't want to overlook anyone. No? Okay. Okay, so I also see one of my fearless counterparts that's very active and is also a mentor to me, Mike Davis of the ODRC. Nice to see you here. So moving forward, I just want to remind everybody, this panel discussion is of Restored Neighbors, providing guidance and insight for becoming legitimate and successful self-employers and entrepreneurship. So keep that entrepreneurship first and foremost on your frontal lobe as we discuss and move forward. So I wanted to open this up, and I appreciate you all for sharing part of your story and your reasoning for being here. Based upon your professional experiences, I kind of want to dove right into it. Why do you think it's so important for someone coming home to have meaningful employment, to engage in something meaningful? Anyone wish to start with that?
Sure, I'll go ahead and start with that. One, I believe that it starts from within, prior to when you are released, planning, knowing what's out there, and some of the work that we have discussions about what is starting salaries for this career pathway. It's very important for them to have meaningful employment because that is the way that they're going to sustain. If they don't have something that they value or feel valued, it's going to be very easy for them to slip backwards into old habits. And part of meaningful employment is possibly doing something that they're skilled to do or that they love to do. That's what makes it meaningful. Also being compensated for their gifts or their skills appropriately. You know, a lot of times they're put into jobs that they don't want to be in, fast food, or other jobs that aren't meaningful to them. Sometimes it makes them actually feel devalued about the work that they are doing. Knowing what the living wage is for the state of Ohio, educating themselves prior to release will also help get them on the track of finding that meaningful employment, having a direct plan upon release. What companies are hiring, what companies can I go immediately and apply to. That first week should already be mapped out with where they're going on track to find that meaningful employment. It's very important to grasp that right away, not to come out and have idle time to sit around and maybe even because of the mindset. Mr. Parker talked about the mindset that they're in attracts the old people, attracts the old behavior. If they have that planned prior, you know, I'm going to go find meaningful employment and this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm skilled to do. And these are the companies that's hiring for that. And investigating the companies as well is also important in finding meaningful employment, knowing about the employer, their workforce, their culture, their environment, because in dealing with this population, and finding that a lot of them have went through trauma. That's a whole nother topic. Finding a place where they're going to be able to fit in and get the help that they need socially as well.
Right. Thanks, Dan. That was wonderfully put. I like that very important piece in there when you said in terms of finding meaningful employment, it has to be something I truly want to do. And not saying there's anything wrong with McDonald's or cleaning, things like that, but I truly want to do something and really feel like I'm contributing a part of something. I mean, that was really good. Did any of you other gentlemen want to add to that?
Yeah, and I'd like to add on to what Dana said now and what you just said. And I talk to my employees about this all the time because they come out and, you know, they get a job and we put them on a job and they're like, man, I don't feel like doing this, digging these holes or say it is working at McDonald's or something like that. When I first got out, yeah, I started passing out cards in the halfway house. And the first job I got, a guy wanted 4 guys and they were basically going to be digging, you know, holes, you know, to lay this pipe. And like I always tell people, and I got this out of it's one of the things I teach in one of the classes is doing more than what you paid for. I don't care what it is. And my father taught me this. If you're going to wash dishes, be the best damn dishwasher. And I tell these guys, you get out here and if you got the stinky attitude, you're like, I don't want to do this stuff. So it's only paying me, you know, $11 an hour. That's what it was back when I first got out. This is in 2015. And you half-ass do it. You're going to be doing that forever. But if you get in there and dig that damn hole or wash them dishes like it's paying you $25 an hour, I guarantee you somebody's going to come along and see you and be like, hey, that guy works. And it never fails. The guys that come bust their butt and work, someone from one of these companies, Messer Construction, Turner Construction, Whiting Turner, some company comes and says, hey, we'd like to hire them. And then like I tell them, I don't charge them anything to, you know, to hire the person. I just say, hey, you can do better than I can do. Go ahead and go. So you might have to start off with some work that is what we feel is beneath us. But remember, as returning citizens, now, when I was in the Fed, it was 25 cents an hour. So in my mind, I was like, anything more than 25 cents, I'm doing good. All this about everybody come out talking about, man, this work, I ain't gonna do this stuff, man. They ain't gonna treat me, they ain't gonna talk to me like this, man. You was just making 25 cents. And we've all been talked to wrong when we were in corrections. The COs did not talk to us loving and caringly and whatnot. So sometimes when these guys get out on these jobs and one of the supervisors, superintendents talk to them a little wrong, they sit here talking about they won't be disrespected. All this, we ain't gonna have it. We're gonna walk me. You got kids, family, rent to pay, or an apartment to get, car to get, suspensions to pay. you're gonna have to eat a little and be a little humble pie to get to where you're going. Now, everybody talked to me perfect when I got out. Nobody was all into this returning citizen in 2015. People don't want to hear that. I would tell contractors, hey, I got these guys, they come from a halfway house and I can't get them to the job site till maybe 7:38. Oh, hell no, we ain't gonna do that. No, you gotta get them here at 6 o'clock. They weren't all sympathetic. It wasn't until they couldn't find other labor that then they started saying, well, hey, who's that black guy came up here? Had all them people, they get here at 8. Okay, we'll take them. So sometimes God does things and makes people change, but compared to what it was when I came out to now, the whole attitude shifted. So sometimes you have to take what you can get, work at it the best you can. Trust me, whether you want to call it God, Allah, whatever you want to call it, the universe, something else will open up. But if you're over there half-assing it, you're just gonna stay right where you are.
Okay, I appreciate you saying that. It sounds like you said you got to have a mindset of gratitude, right?
Yeah, I mean, every day, and I tell people my little gratitude thing. I start writing a little gratitude thing in prison. First, it'd be like, okay, I'm grateful for the fried chicken today. I'm grateful the heat. I'm grateful the heat's on now. It's November. The heat's on. But sometimes they didn't turn it on until after Thanksgiving, but it got cold this year. I mean, write a few things you're grateful of for, and you'll find every day you'll have more and more and more to be grateful for. But if you always complaining, then it's gonna give you more to complain about.
Okay. Chaplain Sands, did you want to add to that?
I did. One of the things I found to be helpful was developing skills while incarcerated that I did not know would come into play later. One of the things I was taught was to be on time. I was in a program right before I was released called Therapeutic Community. And what it did, though I participated in NA on Monday, Bible study on Tuesday, AA on Wednesday, Bible study on Thursday, choir rehearsal on Friday, singing on Saturday, church on Sunday. I'm programmed. I'm preparing myself for when I get out. Why? Because I knew that I had an extensive drug problem. I knew that. So I also knew I needed what? Extensive drug treatment. I had to implement positive actions, programming every day of my life. I got high every day. I drank every day. I stole and manipulated every day. So I needed just as much treatment while there. And so I developed skills, shining shoes. One of my good friends was the head chef of Zanzibar when they first opened, and he was there with me. So I developed cooking skills. Had no idea where the Lord would lead me upon my release. Went to a halfway house. There was a man, I never forget, his name was Lomax. Everybody's looking for a job, trying to get a job, trying to get a job. He came in one day and said, hey, they hiring at Pepper's New York Deli. Anybody want to wash dishes? I said, that'd be me. I said, how far is it? Not far, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes walking. And every day I walk to work. I'm washing dishes and then they let me bust tables. But what I began to do was to serve the people who I was busting the table. So I took the dishwashing job into a busting table job, which turned into a waiter's job. There weren't no waiters in there because people ordered their food from the desk. And so I would ask the customer, can I get you a pop? Would you like a soda? Can I freshen that up? And what they began to do, and this is $6.50 an hour, I end up making just as much in tips as I did in the hourly pay, right? Never knew. I always took a liking to shining shoes, to seeing a nice shoe shine. And I never forget it was a guy that taught me how to shine shoes. And so would this be a business? Would this be a career? I didn't know, but I knew how to shine shoes when I left. And I never forget, you might know a gentleman by the name of Otto Beatty. He would come into the restaurant and he would ask me, who shined your shoes? I said, I did, Mr. Beatty. He said, do you mind if I bring you a bag of shoes to shine for? I'm in the halfway house now. I'm in the halfway house. And I asked my boss, I obeyed authority. I went to the chain of command. I didn't just do it on my own. I asked him, would it be okay? He said, absolutely. So now I turned the 650 job into $32 an hour, Jane. But I built on the skills that I developed being incarcerated. And so I would just recommend to anybody who's on their way out, develop your skills, work on your habits. It's better to be 3 hours early than 1 minute late. Understand that. Nobody wants to hire you if you're late all the time. I would rather hire someone with less ability that's on time than someone with great abilities that's always late.
Okay. Sounds good. Time management is key, right? I mean, time is something we can't get. It's precious too.
Absolutely.
Time is very precious. I appreciate you sharing that, Chaplain Sands. Moving forward, because that was really good, very deep. I want to kind of get a little personable in terms of your industry and how you're working and how you're moving in the community. What are you all doing in your community to expand meaningful employment to the justice involved? What are you actually doing now?
I can answer that. We are currently, and I'm currently building a network of employers. And within this network of employers, we fill the gap where we come in and provide the social needs of employees. These employers are second chance employers. And they're employers that want individuals, even if it is not with them, but to help build someone up. We're involved in a partnership now with an employer that's downtown at the courthouse. It's a 6-month program and is literally built to help give them the training that they need, the soft skills, conflict resolution, personal development, things like that, to move on, to use this as a stepping stone where you're getting compensated while you're getting provided this awesome training. I tell them all the time, I wish I would have had that where, wow, no, I got student loans, right? Nobody paid me to go to school or get any type of training or certifications. They get their Safe Serve certification. It's in the restaurant industry. And they work from the front end to the back end. There's an entrepreneurship piece built inside of this. So we help employers build workforce cultures and development programs that helps keep their employees sustainable in employment, help to grow them and move them on. Some of the employers that we work with are looking at how to partner with these that are in the entrepreneurship program while they're working. If we have someone that makes an awesome gluten-free bread, maybe they can become a vendor of of this workforce program. So working with employers is a very good way to help to individuals in becoming their own boss. You still need that same training even in having your own business, conflict resolution, customer service, soft skills. You need all of that. So that's the way that we are working within the community, is by really working closely with employers with onboarding, recruitment strategies, program development to help their employees be successful.
Absolutely.
Okay, what we do in the community is, like I said, when I first came out, there wasn't a great, push for hiring returning citizens. But then when unemployment got real low and people had trouble finding employees, then people opened up to it. Much in the same way now, everyone keeps crying, hey, we can't find employees, we can't find employees. There's plenty of people out here that'll work. It's just the people now that'll work are different than the ones they used to hire. Now, since we've been doing this, I've been doing this since 2015, 7 years. We went out to the communities where I would go basically to the project. It didn't make a difference if I needed people in Dallas or if I needed people in Florida or Michigan. I would go first halfway houses, reentry houses, then into the lower income areas. Most of the people who in the low income areas, why they're not working is either the felony or transportation or childcare. Those are usually the three biggest things. So I knew, and I thought about this in prison, if I could take those off the table, then I could get basically an unlimited supply of workers. And that's what I had. So one, we have several vans, like 14 vans that we take people around and we take them to the jobs each day. So each morning they come to the office, we put them in the vans and they go to different jobs. But that's not scalable unless I was like Amazon. I just kept buying vans, buying vans, buying vans. But with technology, and that's the other thing, people coming out and want to be entrepreneurs, look at technology. Because with Uber and Lyft, I can move people anywhere. I've moved over 25 people in Florida, never ever met them, and moved them with Uber and Lyft every day. I had them, I'd overnight their PPE, either hard hat, safety glass. I'd overnight 25, hard hat, safety vest and glasses. Then I'd have like several Ubers pick them up in the morning, take them to a job, bring them back at night. Never seen them, pay them with a pay card. And then I did the same thing in Michigan, like the Top Golfs all around the United States. We do all the Top Golfs. And it's like a 9-month project where they want like 9 laborers. I usually hook up with a halfway house somewhere in Michigan, send the Uber there or the Lyft and pick them up. So those are, getting the transportation out of the way. Then childcare is normally for single mothers. I haven't really had any single fathers that had a childcare issue. So most of the time, the single mothers have an issue with the childcare and a flexible schedule. A lot of mothers are either like, well, I can get to work at maybe 7:30 because I got to put my son or daughter on the bus. Before, most people would just say, well, no, if you can't be here at this time, it's like it's written in stone. We don't want you. Now they've gotten more flexible because I call it my Uber scheduling. Let people work when they're available, because that's what when you drive an Uber, if you want to drive, you turn your app on. So we go with the females and ask them what hours are they available, and they say I can work from 8 to 4. That's what we schedule them. Then as far as the childcare, we connect with various childcares in the community, not just here. I got a little hookup there in Dallas. I got one in Michigan and then one in Tennessee and in Cincinnati. Where I go, I'll pay the first whole month of the daycare. And then as they start getting paid, they pay it going forward. And I'll take a small chunk back of the original amount I paid. So let's say I paid $800. Once they get on their feet and start getting a check, I only take maybe $50 a month back until I get my money paid back. So I don't do like, either charge interest or just say, okay, after you get your first check, I want all my damn money. No, because then the whole thing is to lift them up and keep them up. So sometimes when I tell guys, or it's mainly females, because a lot of my males won't go get their license, I'll say, get your driver's license. I'll help you with the down payment. Whatever you come up with, I'll match it. And I'll keep like $10,000 aside. And when they come and say, okay, I got $750, I need $1,400. I give them another $750 or, whatever they need to get to $1,400. Then as they work, they just pay me back my money, just a little bit at a time, like $75 a month. And then it helps to, promote them and get them on their feet. And these are the things that takes away them obstacle of transportation, childcare, and then the felony. We hire you because you have the felony. So that takes that off the table.
Okay. And you also, it sounds like you also teaching them intuitively how to budget, a little bit of financial literacy going on there too.
Yeah, like right now, we connected up with the First Financial Bank. So right now we just had our second class. It's a financial literacy series where I had an actual professional come in from First Financial. This is what she does. And she started talking to them the importance of a bank account, the importance of, budgeting. Then she'll go into credit and all these things, because it's one thing if I teach them how to set a goal and whatnot, but there's other things you're going to need professionals in financial literacy.
Right.
Even I had to learn about. Right. Where, different ways, because a lot of people, especially African-Americans, they don't even think about home ownership. It's just so far, especially when you come out of prison, they're just like, man, I just want to get a place, or they'll try to hook up. A lot of African-American males try to hook up with an African-American female, and we don't we don't pull our weight. We're always trying to be like a tick, connect to someone else. And I'm trying to tell them, you can stand on your own 2 feet. You can get out here, get your own house. They'll get a car before they got a driveway to park it in. And that's what I try to say, let's do it in order.
Right. Everything comes with order. Everything has to have that order. And like you said, some people's vision in hindsight, it's not as far-fetched as others coming out. And that's, I think myself and Chaplain talked a little bit about this, about having the mindset for success. Chap, did you want to add to that? We're talking about what you're doing that's meaningful in the community.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Our purpose here at DYS is to transform and save lives, creating a safer, Ohio. So how do you really transform a life, a mind, an attitude that the young people can begin to feel good about themselves? And when we talk about programming and assisting the community for those who are incarcerated going into society, it has, for us, it has to start here. That's one of the reasons I wanted to work in DYS, was because I wanted to break the pipeline between DYS and ODRC.
Mm.
I wanted to break the pipeline between a youth leaving here. Okay, the statistic says he didn't return. The statistic says he didn't go to RDC or ORDC. Well, how's he doing? And if you really research, you'll find out the reason he didn't come back to DYS or ORDC is because he was shot and killed. That's a statistic that nobody looks at. And so it's important to express to our young men here and young women and other facilities that before you leave this place, you have to develop an intention for the intent. What is the intent, Chad? The intent is for you to go out and be successful and to live. You're gonna have the things you want, you can get it. You can have the nice job with Mr. Parker. You can have the influence of Miss Davis, but you have to be intentional about the intent. You have to, let's work on a plan here. You can't wait until you hit the door and say, and every time I ask you, what's your plan? Oh, I'm gonna get a job. What kind of job? How you gonna get a job when you can't come here on time? You know, and so I think it's important when building the foundation, and that's the part I like to take pride in, is building the foundation of our young men and preparing them so when they fill out an application and they can be approachable. Pull your pants up, man. Get your hands out of your pants. Quit cussing. You want to cuss? That's as one of my mentors have said, that's the language of God. I'm looking for you to change the way you think. And if you can change the way you think, you can be successful anywhere. You can be successful. So what we currently in my area behind my door is a reentry fair. All the youth are coming from different units at different times, and we have various jobs out there. We have young men who have organizations that's built around gangs. We have Edwins out there. We have the parole board out there, and just preparing our youth to be successful and change the generational curse that's within their family. And I'll talk more about that later, because one of the things that inspired me while incarcerated at the age of 30 years old was receiving my GED. What? I couldn't believe it, man. Tears began to roll down my face. Because I went to school at Cleveland Heights for about 4 or 5 years. I went to school, I just didn't go to class. Right? And so here's an opportunity. And I achieved it. I asked the young man, how many of your fathers or mothers have a high school diploma? And very few say yes. My dad has. I said, don't you know you're getting ready to change the direction of your generation just by getting a GED? Now your son and your daughter and your sister growing up, they'll look at you and say, that's, and so when we discuss what Chaplain Sands is doing for self-employment or employment after going into the community experience is preparing them before they leave.
Okay, which is very important. And I think Dana said something very prolific earlier. She has spoke to that it starts before they get out. entrepreneurship, for someone to have the entrepreneurial spirit, if you will, or mindset to gain that and feed that, just as you Troy said, just as Chap said, you gotta evolve as an individual. Your thinking has to change. In order for you to have your soft skills in place, hard skills, you can train someone in HVAC, roofing, construction. You can train someone to cut hair. But can you train someone, as you said, Chap, to be on time? Can you train someone, as Dana mentioned, to have a hint of integrity about themselves? See, I also had, I've had two businesses in which they were barbershops, okay? And there was a nonprofit, back in early 2000, a nonprofit I tried to get off the ground. But long story short, I had to develop in myself a sense of character so I could better serve my customers and give them what they want, not necessarily what I want.
Mhm.
So it takes a array of things: hard skills, soft skills, character, the simple stuff. Pull your pants up.
Mhm.
Get your communication right, assertive communication. You can get your point across without using profanity. If you hear it in the song, okay, but when you're closing a deal on a small business loan, you're not going to want to use you're not going to want to use profanity at all in that, right?
Mhm.
So, like you said, it starts there. It starts there first. It
Absolutely.
starts there first. So, not to cut anyone off, because this is good. I like where this is going, but I would be amiss if I didn't ask, what do you all think, okay, the society needs to let go of? The mythical thoughts or ways of thinking that they have in terms of justice involved individual going for self and becoming their own boss. What myths do you think is affiliated with that people think about criminal justice involved individuals getting their own jobs, getting their own businesses? Do you think there's any myths that we need to bash and kind of overcome?
Yes, I do. One of the things I had to realize is that there are individuals who believe once a criminal, always a criminal. And one of the things I try to express to our young men is that when you get out, you can't approach a job with the mindset that you just got out of jail. We talked about it earlier. There's no sign on your, and I used to think I'm walking down the street, there's a sign on my forehead, and the sign says, I just got out of prison. Nobody knows that unless you tell them. And when that opportunity comes around, you should leave a great impression on the employer or the interviewer. So when that question does come around, they can already have in their mind, wow, he was in jail. He don't talk like it. He don't act like it. He was 15 minutes early to the interview. But if you walk in there with that mindset and you still communicating with that same language that you communicated prior to coming in, there's some changes that have to be made. But I've come to believe that people will give you a chance if you prove yourself even before you get to that question. I think it's important just to know society does shun on offenders, but there's something greater. God has put something great in the hearts and the spirit and the minds of some of these young men that I'll hire them before I hire somebody I've been knowing for 20 years because of the way they present themselves after coming in contact. And I always say, it's our job to get them to that level. They cannot reach for something that they do not see. Please don't make me preach. They cannot reach for something they do not see. It's our responsibility to show them, to help them, to feed them, to pay for their monthly daycare. That's incredible, Mr. Parker. That's incredible, man. You're not telling them, pull your pants up. You go out and you buy them a decent pants. See, it's more, and I don't want to abort the question, but it's all in the preparation. A person can't deny me a job if I'm sharp, if my pants is pressed, my shoes is shine, my speech is right, because they're looking for someone who can communicate. You can go into a McDonald's and ask for staying in the line. You got somebody that look at a young person, they'll look at you, you be looking at them, and they be looking at you. I said, ain't you gonna ask me if I want something? You just gonna stare at me. So I don't want to belabor the point, but I believe there are communities and areas where they shun on extra fingers, but I believe it also it's our responsibility as their examples, and it's their responsibility to present themselves in a way where that doesn't even cross their mind until the question comes.
Okay.
And I agree, and that starts when I went to prison. Now, the first year I went through the blame game and whatnot, but by my second year, I started developing myself, and I never started acting like an inmate. I carried myself like I wanted to be. And I'm like, at first, I'm like, well, how am I? I mean, I was 49 when I went to prison. And I'm like, well, how? No, I'm sorry, 42 when I went to prison. And I'm like, golly, by the time I get out, I'm gonna be, because it was a 10-year sentence. I mean, in the Fed, I'm like, man, what the hell, this? I mean, first, I'm like, shit, I can't do this. I'm gonna kill myself. This and this. And all I got to prison, an older OG came to me. He said, oh man, that time's gonna pass. Before you know it, you're gonna be walking out here. And I thought that's the dumbest thing to say. How's that gonna happen? He said, but do your time. Don't let your time do you. And he said, don't start falling in, like these other guys. He's like, you had a business down the street, I acted and carried myself in a way that I did not, I didn't droop, I didn't cuss, I didn't, I acted like a businessman still. And it paid off because when I came up with my idea for my business, the people who gave me the help, that when I needed things printed off the internet, I could get anything I wanted off the internet. It was the COs. I had 2 COs who give me anything I want. And my business plan, so I had all my stuff all laid out. Like Jan said, I knew who my target marketing was, what was I going to pay. And I always tell guys that, have been out in the streets and whatnot, keep the hustle, just change the product. A lot of guys went out there, and I did this little class when I was in prison. And the guys like, man, I don't know nothing about no business. I don't know nothing about marketing and whatnot, or, how you buy things. I'm like, you did it all the time. I'm like, if you went and bought whatever the product was, it could be cocaine, whatever. You didn't just buy the cocaine from the wholesaler and take it and sell it at the same price that you got it for. He's like, no. You mark it up and we cut it. We do this, because I didn't know about drugs. Mine's white collar. And he'd say how they did it. I'm like, okay, that's how you do your markup. And I said, then you knew where your market was. And he said, yeah, I had my guys go here and here and here. A lot of times, and I call them transferable skills. They're skills you used in your illegal activity. Like me, I was over here doing fake tax returns and things like that. Take that same desire that you did to get them bricks out on the street and whatnot, but now you're not going to do bricks. You're going to do, like, not mine, staffing. Yours could be cooking. Other guy could be music. Keep the hustle, because a lot of guys don't know how to get up for something else. And I use the example of from a guy's perspective. When I got to the halfway house, every man wanted a woman. Every guy in the halfway house was trying to get a girl. So they would go on the dating app and they put their profile, they get out and do 100 push-ups, get all blunked up, take the picture, and then they put their profile out like that, let's get the good smile, good side, all that. That's marketing. You're marketing, you're networking, you're getting out there. Then a couple of ladies would, respond back, and they would do this and this. When they would be bantering back and forth, a guy might tell them, hey, you're not going to get that girl, you're not going to get this and that, but they wouldn't give up. But if they go to 2 job interviews and get a no, they'll be like, nobody's gonna hire me. And I try to tell them, use that same desire, that same intensity that you used to use when you were in the street or doing whatever you were doing, or when you're trying to find a mate, use that to find the job. But to what the chaplain was saying, you have to carry yourself in such a way that when people look at you, they don't even think, hey, this guy just got out of prison. If you come and you speak appropriately, and I tell people, if you don't know how to speak, there's YouTube. When you're in the halfway house, watch YouTube. Watch Barack Obama talk. Just watch him. Just watch how he speaks, how he stops, how he pauses. Now there's so many things that went around when I was younger that you can just watch people and just mirror them. And it's harder for African-American males than it is for others, because the white males who get out, they don't have trouble getting jobs. It's not the same. And I know it for a fact because I hire both of them. And the white employees I get jobs quicker. And even a white person with a felony will get hired faster than an African-American without one. So the challenges are different for both races, and we have to be honest about it. So I try to also tell the African-American employees, you know, when you carry yourself, when you speak, just like the chaplain was saying, you have to speak in a professional way where people, you know, when it comes up and they ask you, okay, tell me about your past, then just own it. Just be upfront, say, hey, I did whatever it was you did. But when I got out, nobody knew for years. It wasn't until I was in the paper with the whole thing with Senator Portman, nobody knew. People come and say, oh my God, you went through all that? Because they never knew, because I never acted like that. I acted like, hey, I'm the man. How you doing? How you doing? I put my Barack, I called my Barack on. Never like, I never acted like, oh my God, I just got out of prison. Just give me a broom. I'll just go over here. I never acted like that.
Right.
And it's all how you see yourself. How you see you is how they're gonna see you. And you don't have to have the sign on your forehead. It's the energy you push off.
Yeah.
That's what they're gonna feel. They're gonna know something's wrong. Like, what's wrong with this guy? Why you act like this? They won't know exactly what it is, but it's because you told them. If you come in there like, hey, how you doing? I'd love to work here. What I could do for you is this. I can change your, they're gonna be, well, they'll never think you came from prison. When you tell them, they'll just overlook it and be like, hey, this guy could help us. Because if you can help somebody solve a problem, they don't care what color you are or where you've been.
Well, it's like you said, Troy, those skills are taught. You have to learn them. And there's so many avenues that you can learn them. YouTube, all over. You can Google it. They have these resources that we can do. Now, before we open it up for some questions, some Q&A, because our participants may have some questions out there. Dane, I want to start with you on this. What do we, in terms of, if you had to pick two things to focus, that we should focus most of our time on and our energy in terms of developing and networking employers and allowing them to want to provide meaningful opportunities to the justice involved, what would those two things be? What should the primary focuses be?
Well, one thing I'll say is what your previous question was, do away with the myths. Educating employers, because employers, you know, do away with in the population that we serve. I hear a lot of, I can't. Well, who said you can't? You know, well, I can't buy a house because I'm a felon. Banks won't loan me money. Well, who told you that? That's a myth. Okay, do away with the myths and find out the facts. The other thing that I would say to focus on is, of course, employment. However, there's so many, it's almost like a wheel. So you got employment in the center, but then attached to employment is housing, is transportation, is entrepreneurship, right? So you focus on those two things, doing away with the myths and really working within the facts of things and educating yourself to those things. I get the people that I work with, I get them in the mindset of owning a home right while they're incarcerated, because let's talk about credit. Do you even know what your credit looks like? I had one individual don't even have a credit score. I was able to pull up their information. They have no score at all. Okay, so that it's not that you can't own a home, you have to start in building your credit. And in order to do that, we need to talk about employment. But before we talk about employment, we got to make sure you keep the job. I can throw jobs at you all day long, but we have to make sure that you have the mindset and the skills to keep that job. Because guess what? Entrepreneurship, if you can't work for somebody else, you're probably not going to work out well working for yourself, right? Okay, if you can't accept failure and really understand that failure is fertilizer to grow and to learn from, it's not something to be stuck in, right? So working with facts instead of myths, and then educating yourself as far as employers and employees, because a lot of employers think all people that are incarcerated are bad. They don't have any sense. Like, are you kidding me? There are very gifted individuals, a lot of gifted individuals. You have individuals, like you said, they have college degrees. They had that before being incarcerated. Just because you are incarcerated doesn't mean you're not smart, doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. So educating the employers on what really goes on. People earn degrees while incarcerated, certifications, skills. Employers surprisingly don't know that. Because like you said, COVID has put us, in a lot of terrible situations. I mean, we've all suffered heartache from COVID, but at the same time, there's been so much opportunity there too. And knowing where to tap into that opportunity is important as well. I know you asked me for two things, but unfortunately.
That's okay. You brought it. I knew you was gonna bring it. That's why I said we're gonna start with you on this question, because you was just holding it in. We needed to hear that. And I appreciate that, because you hit that. Education and myth busting are two of the things that kind of they can overplay each other. So the more that we educate ourselves, the more we can, as citizens, as the community, can bust open these myths that I can get better credit. I can own a home. I don't just have to be a renter. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's other things that we can do. Chap, did you want to add to that briefly? I don't know if briefly even coexists with you, but can you add to that, please? I'm only kidding. Look at it.
Oh, the good shot, sir. Well, I tell you, I would have to say it's very important to build relationships. I will tell you this. Maya Angelou once said, I may not remember what you said, and I may not remember what you did, but I will always remember how you made me feel. And if a person, when going out into the community and you're having a challenge, or if you have incarcerated number, you have to develop your skills to talk and communicate and allow the people that you're getting involved with to feel good when you leave.
Mhm.
You want to develop a skill where people look forward to seeing you. And that may not happen overnight. You may not stop cussing overnight, but if you work on it a little bit at a time. One of the things I share with my young men, you can have the nice car, you can have the nice clothes, dripping is what they call it now. You can have that, you can be dripping, but it just takes longer. See, you have to be patient. See, you want to develop a skill like Ms. Davis mentioned, that you want to check out your credit. See, when I was growing up, nobody told me about credit, whether I was incarcerated or not. Nobody explained it to me. But what I discovered was, upon my release, I applied for American Express card and they gave it to me. What? Hold on now. I've been changed, but I'm still struggling in some areas. Wish I had the understanding, it ain't my money. It's a loan. You can buy anything you want, but at the end of the month, American Express want their money back, right? And if we can share that with our youth and with the adults that's being reintegrated, one of the things they should know is that you might have A1 credit and don't even know it, right? And so you take that card, you buy a little purchase, and you put the money back. It's not your money. But you have to develop. Why is that, Chuck? Why I gotta do that? Because as you grow older, you know, the house that you do want, you're gonna pay. Your mortgage is gonna be $2,000 a month, where your counter partners is gonna be $500. The car that you are leasing or buying, your payment is gonna be 500, and your counterpartner who watched their credit carefully is going to be 200. So you're going to be digging a hole for the rest of your life. That's going to be important. When I started up Busy Beans Barbecue, it was because the economy had dropped out in 2007 and 2008. I created a way to produce income. You have to be creative when you are coming out as an ex-offender. Okay, they may not hire you at the bank because you write checks, man. you write bad checks, man. You don't get mad. But what you do, find out where you feel good about what you're doing. If you like to cook, you made them breaks. Come on, Mr. Parker, you know about the breaks with
that's what I'm talking about.
what do you call them, Fritos and
Yeah,
breaks
yeah,
and Velveeta cheese. Come on, I know.
yeah.
You can sell hot dogs on the food truck and make
Come on.
a living.
Okay.
And so
All right.
transfer those skills. Come on.
And I appreciate you sharing that. That's turning your skills into something that's feasible, that you can make money and monetary. So tying this all up, I know we only have about 4 more minutes, and I want to be mindful. I did check the chat. I didn't see any questions in there. And for those that may be wondering, this will be in the cloud. The Building Bridges of Opportunity, they record this, and you will be able to get access to this series here. In tying it together, Troy brought us with what his organization, what he's doing and moving. He hit the ground running. He's the muscle of getting employers workers by any means necessary in a healthy way, getting them not only jobs, but getting them with their PPE equipment. And Dana led us off with is more importantly, you have to educate yourself and develop a plan before you get released. Absolutely. Develop that plan and invest in yourself. Take those skills, put them together, get them down, and think outside the box. And Chaplain, you wove in beautifully. You said, you know what? It starts with a mindset change. If you don't change your mind, then guess what? About what you think about you, society won't change their mind of what they think about you. And there lies that stigma of once this, always that, right? Once a criminal or once, locked up, once a jail person. And those are myths. And as Dana said, we can bust those wide open as we come together and educate ourselves, just as Building Bridges has allowed us to do here in this space, just as ODRC does. And just to share real quick, in 30 seconds or less, the ODRC's Office of Reentry, we try to touch the individuals, men and women that are currently incarcerated adults while they're locked up, and connect them to the resources out in their community that they're going to be released to. So they know about housing. They know about the employment and the job market in that area. They know about mental health. They know how to get a hold of counselors and mentors out in their field of interest. They know how to get probable parenting classes, financial literacy if they didn't get it while they're in the institution. We connect them not only to the community agencies, but we connect those community partners to each other. So we working on both sides. And that's what I love about my job in the Office of Reentry, ODRC's Office of Reentry, is we try to feed 2 birds with 1 hand. We're gonna try to get a hold of you and get you expose you to these resources while you're incarcerated. And then once you're not incarcerated and you get released, we got those resources waiting for you. Appointments are set and you're ready to go. And we don't stop there. There's a follow-up there too, but not to embark on that because I love what we all do and what we all shared. I just want to thank our panel again, Chaplain Sands, Dana Davis, Troy Parker. I want to thank you so much for sharing that and putting that personal twist in there, Dana, with your father and having a parent and your personal experiences, Chap and Troy. I appreciate that. And I really hope that our partners here, our participants, grab something that they heard, that they say, you know what, I can make changes. I can ask more questions. And as Dana said, why can't you you can get good credit. You can get a good house, So I wish this really bridges together all those questions of what we need to do moving forward. Because just as Troy, what you've been, you're a man of action. I heard that through all of what you shared, and I hope we all become men and women of action. So that being said, I want to thank you again, the panel, for sharing, taking your time to share. I want to thank my counterparts, Mike Davis, Fenice Robinson. I got to shout out to them. They helped mold me into who I am within this organization, and I'm still being learning and being molded and mentored. So I appreciate you all for coming out. Let me make sure I check the chat. There's still no questions there. Any final comments or statements that anyone would like to make before we sign off?
You know, I'll end with this. In becoming your own boss, you must find your purpose. It's not about, you know, I tell people, don't worry about the money. Like, what do you mean don't worry? Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the money. Find your purpose. Money gonna come.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And I couldn't have ended no better than that.
And she's right. I mean, that is so
Right.
true.
That's beautiful. So again, we're going to go ahead and sign off. We'll take a lunch break from 11:45, it looks like, to 12:15, and from 12:15 to 1:15, they'll have a lunch and learn panel on the topic of the day. So I want to thank you guys again for coming out. Wonderful session. Salute. And as we do this work and move forward, keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
God bless you. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely.